More Dem collusion as DNC and Mueller conspire on witch hunt lawsuit by Rick Wells for rickwells.us. Judicial Watch's Chris Farrell is sure the DNC and Mueller discuss the fact that their witch hunt is running out of gas and time, conspiring for a witch hunt lawsuit. Lou Dobbs begins with the announcement of Representative Bob Goodlatte and Trey Gowdy that they've reached a secret agreement for document production to their committees by the DOJ without providing any specifics as to how many, what, when, and in what stage of redaction those documents will be delivered. We're supposed to just trust that Mr. Benghazi Committee and Establishment Bob are acting in our interest and not those of the swamp creatures. That's more or less exactly the type of shenanigans we expected when these two suddenly, out of nowhere, became the face of the investigation into DOJ corruption. Shall we say, along with Rosenstein, Wray, and Sessions, the faces of the cover-up? The best way to obstruct is to be on the inside, pretending to be objective and transparent. I so agree with what Rick Wells is stating here. On Sunday, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes revealed on Maria Bartiromo's program that there was absolutely no intelligence information underlying the undertaking of the Russia-Trump collusion investigation. It was completely crafted as a political witch hunt without a shred of evidence or anything else indicating that the collusion or any crimes existed. Dobbs asks Farrell why the investigations persist with nothing to indicate there is any legitimacy to them. On the Democrat side, there is plenty to indicate wrongdoing on their part, including as it relates to two political operatives, Cody Shearer and Sidney Blumenthal. Dobbs notes, their role in this looks profound, important, and yet we hardly hear their names. Dobbs points out that James Comey admitted last Wednesday that the deep state exists and they tried to put a spin on it to indicate it was some sort of patriotic alliance. That's what Hitler would have called his SS. Farrell calls it more virtue posturing by Mr. Comey. Not that he's talking about himself, of course, but there are American heroes who know better. So keep your heads down and obey because we have all the right answers. Dobbs calls it gag-worthy. Farrell agrees it's insulting. It really is insulting. And it's so self-referential in the way he says it. Farrell jokes that the reason for the lawsuit by the DNC against Trump, Russia, and WikiLeaks is because DNC Chairman Tom Perez wants his money back. He says Perez paid for a dossier that was supposed to tank Trump in connection with the Russian government, and it didn't work, so I guess they want their money back. He gets serious, saying the real story is that I believe that the Democratic operatives in the Mueller operation have told them, look, we've got a big zero. We're in slow motion meltdown over here, so go out and file a civil suit to continue the publicity stunt and allow them to talk endlessly about it because the civil litigation will drag on into the next century. Dobbs asks if he thinks there was coordination between the Mueller camp and the DNC with the lawsuit. Farrell says he can't prove it, but his gut instincts tell him that whether it was at a cocktail party or a kid's soccer game, someone said, hey, look, here's a bright idea. We're not going anywhere, but you can do something civilly and you can use the discovery process to churn up maximum confusion. As they close out the interview, the pair note that the reciprocity of discovery has not been lost on the Trump administration. Democrats must really be desperate to open themselves up to that level under oath testimony. Let's take a listen here.
House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte and Oversight Chairman Trey Gowdy reaching some sort of agreement today with the Justice Department. We'd like to tell you what it was or what it is, but they say in a very brief statement that it allows for their review of documents concerning Clinton corruption and FISA court abuses. They gave absolutely no specifics, not anything about when there will be a delivery of documents, how many they're going to see, but we do know that for more than a half year, lawmakers have been trying to get 1.2 million documents from the recalcitrant stonewalling Justice Department. House Intel Chairman Devin Nunes revealed there was no official intelligence used at all to start the FBI investigation into the Trump campaign.
This is really important to us because a counterintelligence investigation uses the tools of our intelligence services that are not supposed to be used on American citizens. So we've long wanted to know, well, what intelligence did you have that actually led to this investigation? So what we found now, after the investigators have reviewed it, is that in fact there was no intelligence.
No intelligence, none whatsoever. Chris Farrell, Director of Investigations and Research for Judicial Watch, joins us tonight. Chris, at one level, to me there's no surprise in what Nunes said. On the other, it's a different articulation of the same thing. The GOP memorandum said the same thing. As a matter of fact, Senate Intel said the same thing. There's nothing. So why in the world do these folks in the Senate leadership and the House leadership persist?
There's no good explanation, Lou. I mean, what I think Nunes did today was just make a simple declarative sentence out of his report. That's what really counted. So even if it was sort of a restatement of what we already knew, it was clear and direct, and it brings up probably the most important fact of all this nonsense, which is that there was no real intelligence. There was cooperation between Hillary Clinton and the DNC via a couple of cutouts with the Russian intelligence service. You want to find collusion, look right there.
There's collusion. There is also fakery, fraud, and two political operatives that are quite well known to the country, those being Cody Shearer and Sidney Blumenthal, the Clintonistas.
Yep.
Their role in this looks profound, important, and yet we hardly hear their names.
Yeah, and they're sort of long-term, they view themselves as sort of, they like to think that they're James Bond or something, mm-hmm. But they're intelligence peddlers. They use sort of warmed-over, half-baked press reports and try to pass it off as some sort of insightful commentary. And you can see that, thankfully, through some of our work concerning Benghazi, where Sidney Blumenthal was really fanning the flames with Hillary Clinton on Libya.
The idea that this deep state, of which they would be a part, perhaps an ancillary chapter, but nonetheless a part, we actually have James Comey telling folks in his book tour, I believe last Wednesday, that yes, there is a deep state, but the deep state, don't worry, just be very, very calm and relaxed, because they wouldn't do anything, untoward our representative constitutional republic. Here's what he said. There is a deep state in the sense there is a collection of people, CIA, NSA, FBI, in the United States military services, who are passionately about getting it right, who care passionately about the values that we try to talk about. No matter how they vote or how they talk at home, try desperately to do the right thing. That is deep. That is unchangeable, actually. My Lord. I mean, this is a man, I don't know how much more harm he can do himself, but he is unfettered and whittling away at his own, at his self, to which there's going to be nothing recognizable by the time apparently he's done.
Yeah, more virtue posturing by Mr. Comey. Not that he's talking about himself, of course. Right? But there are American heroes who know better. So keep your heads down and obey, because we have all the right answers.
The elitism of it is gag-worthy. It is just...
It's insulting. It really is insulting. And it's so self-referential in the way that he says it. I don't know how the poor reporter who was doing, a pad and pen on that one. Yeah. I don't know how they sat upright in the room while he's saying these sorts of things.
Well, I suspect with long practice, because it seems to be the tone set by so many of our even our elected officials in this country. Yeah. The time for elitism, globalism is nigh an end, because this country really desperately needs to get back to its fundamental founding values. Things like a constitutional republic, elected leaders, not deep state vermin who crawl out whenever they feel like it.
How about equal justice under the law?
Yeah,
that would be nice.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Just stick to that, we'll be all right.
The Democratic Party, as they continue to torture themselves, to torch themselves, and to destroy whatever was left of the brand, after 8 years of the Obama administration and the misadventures that Messrs. Comey and Clapper and Brennan took them on, where are we headed here? They file a lawsuit against Russians and the Trump campaign, seeking what?
Tom Perez wants his money back. He paid for a dossier that was supposed to tank Trump in connection with the Russian government, and it didn't work. So I guess they want their money back. But the real story is that I believe Democratic operatives in the Mueller operation have told them, look, we've got a big zero. We're in a slow motion meltdown over here. So go out and file a civil suit to continue the publicity stunt and allow them to talk endlessly about it, because the civil litigation will drag on, into the next century.
Do you think there was a coordination?
Oh, I mean, can I prove it? No. But what do my gut instincts tell me? They tell me that, whether it was at a cocktail hour or the kids' soccer game, somebody said, hey, look, here's a smart idea. We're not going anywhere, but you can do something civilly, and you can use the discovery process to churn up maximum confusion. What they're forgetting, though, is that discovery goes both ways, right? So there will be there'll be defendants in this litigation who can turn around and ask very awkward questions of Mr. Perez and company.
It took President Trump about 3 nanoseconds to figure out the reciprocity of that advantage and to tweet about it. Chris Farrell, always good to see you. Thank you.